Have you ever paused to consider the profound impact a simple line on a map can have on the course of history? Today, we delve into the story of the 38th parallel, a seemingly arbitrary line that would come to symbolize one of the most significant conflicts of the 20th century, the Korean War. Our tale begins in the final days of World War II. As the world staggered to regain its balance, the Korean Peninsula, previously under Japanese rule, found itself suddenly divided. The 38th parallel was drawn by American officials in 1945, splitting the peninsula into two zones of influence. To the north, Soviet Russia held sway, while the south fell under American control. This line, initially intended as a temporary measure, would soon become an emblem of a divided world. By 1950, the Cold War had set in, and tensions were high. North Korea, bolstered by Soviet support, decided to test the waters, launching a surprise attack across the 38th parallel on June 25th. South Korea, backed by the United Nations forces led predominantly by the United States, retaliated. Thus began the Korean War, a brutal conflict that would last for 3 long years. The war saw dramatic shifts in control. The North Korean forces initially made significant headway, almost completely overrunning the south. However, a daring amphibious assault at Incheon by the United Nations forces turned the tide, pushing the North Koreans back across the 38th parallel and even threatening the Chinese border. China, reluctant to see a unified Korea under Western influence at its doorstep, entered the war on North Korea's side. The conflict soon became a brutal stalemate, with neither side able to make significant progress. The 38th parallel, once merely a line on a map, had become a bloody battleground, a symbol of the ideological divide tearing the world apart. Finally, on July 27, 1953, an armistice was signed, effectively ending the hostilities. However, a peace treaty was never signed, and technically, the two Koreas are still at war. The 38th parallel was replaced by the Korean demilitarized zone, a heavily fortified buffer between the two nations, standing as a stark reminder of the divisions of the past. So what have we learned today? We've traced the story of the 38th parallel from a mere line on a map to a symbol of global division. We've journeyed through the brutal conflict that was the Korean War, a war that saw dramatic shifts in power and ended in a tense stalemate. We've seen how the war led to the division of Korea into two distinct nations, each with its own ideology, and how this division remains a reality even today. The Korean War and the 38th parallel serve as poignant reminders of the consequences of ideological conflict and the lasting impact of lines drawn on a map. In conclusion, the Korean War and the 38th parallel are not just historical events or geographical coordinates. They are symbols of a divided world, a testament to the power of ideology, and a stark reminder that the lines we draw, both literally and metaphorically, can have lasting consequences.